Hey, it's Stephen J. Kosmyna coming at you with another little message about power. You know, being an ordained New Thought minister in the movement that I'm associated with, Unity, we traditionally talk about 12 spiritual powers. And in the month of May, we talk about the power of power. Well, what is that? Well, the power of power, the way I look at it, is that creative capacity that we have to move into our field of experience those intentions and desires that will enable us to live in that joy that's talked about by all the great spiritual teachers, telling us to know these things and knowing our power, knowing our strength, having faith in the creative power of our words, our joy can be complete. So this is about being in that joy. This is about remaining in that joy. And I always like to remain in that field of love, knowing that when I do, my joy is complete. So what happens here is we hear all the gurus come out and talk about, well, you have this power, and we do. We all have this power, whether we realize it or not. And that power is in the words of I am. Let's take a look at that for a minute, because I think sometimes we let go of the sacredness of that. I am. What follows I am are the creative words that we're calling into our field of experience. But where did that come from? It actually came from the Hebrew Bible when Moses is up on the mountain saying, hey God, you're giving me all these instructions, all these rules, all these laws. They already think I'm nuts. Who should I tell them I'm talking to up here? And it's written that God tells Moses, I am who I am. Some versions actually say, I am that I am. It doesn't matter. Go look in the mirror and say that and see if you feel any power. I am that I am, because that's the power you're giving to the words that you speak. I am that I am. The sacredness of that is that when Moses was speaking to God in whatever capacity that you want to take that, is this voice that came back to him and says, I am who I am. So let's take a lesson from that and be mindful of that and hold that to the sacredness. Another thing I like to do is turn it around. We all know, we all hear all the gurus speaking about, I am prosperous, I am magnificent, and anything that we want to call into our field of experience. But how about running those words that we say through a filter and turn that around? Am I? Am I being the presence of that source, that presence of God within us? If that presence of God in us is I am, that I am present, that Christ consciousness, am I being that? Am I being that? Am I being love? Those times when maybe we're a little uncomfortable speaking with others, looking at others, maybe we're judging others, we need to go into that secret place of the Most High within us and say, am I being all that I am? I like to look at it with uppercase letters. I, capital A. You see me write like that a lot. Am I being what Source wants me to express? And a lot of times I'm not. I'm being judgmental. A lot of times, a lot of us do that. We're attached to a certain way that things need to be, or our way. Our way is the right way. So we kick and scream until somebody comes along to our way of thinking. We don't have to do that. I like to do this new practice where I run it through my am I filter. Am I being the inner presence? Am I being Source? Am I being what love is and what love does? Am I expressing love in my thoughts, in my words, and my actions, what I do in this world? Am I? All the time? No. But if I am being judgmental, I make a shift. I make a shift to gratitude and appreciation for the good that's in my life. So before I judge someone's picture, the way they're moving, or the way they're acting, or the way they're behaving, or I don't know their story, I don't know what they're moving through. So I go to that I am presence. I turn it around and say, am I? And if I am not coming from that nature of all good, the inner presence of God within me, I shift to appreciation and gratitude for all life's abundant blessings. Be creative. Our thoughts create the world that we're living in. What are you putting after the words, I am? I am grateful that you've tuned in and watched this video. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming and seeing this message. I hope it resonates with you. I love you.